Please enjoy this message from David Arquette sent in by the fabulous Carrie Tenney.
Hey Ryan, how are you? Thanks for doing the Scream podcast.
Like scary movies?
Uh-huh.
What's your favorite scary movie?
I don't know.
You have to have a favorite. What comes to mind?
You are listening to Scream with Ryan C. Showers, the podcast for Scream fans just like you. Join Ryan every week as he takes a deep dive into the horror film series that defined the 90s and redefined the genre. Scream with Ryan C. Showers is your source for scene and quote analysis, character dissections, and the latest news about upcoming installments of the Scary Movie franchise.
I hear you like horror movies, Kirby, but do you like them as much as him?
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Scream with Ryan C. Showers. I'm your host, Ryan C. Showers, and thank you for coming to this first episode we are doing for the audio commentaries with Scream with Ryan C. Showers. So these episodes that we're going to do, that you're about to hear the very first one of, it is going to replace the previous monthly Patreon episode that used to be like an episode every month that would just be released for the Patreon subscribers only, like privatized just for subscribers. So we're ditching that and we're going with every Tuesday. Every episode will be available to the public, and instead you will get on like the middle Thursday of the month an audio commentary of me talking about a movie while it's playing. And the idea is for you to be watching at home and pressing play on the DVD when I tell you to, and then watching along as I'm talking about the movie. You know, a lot of filmmakers do this for their movies whenever it comes to physical release. I don't know if filmmakers do it anymore today with the rise of digital copies, but it's very nostalgic for people from the 90s, especially because of the Scream commentaries, obviously, right? This is Scream podcast, right? With Wes Craven and Marianne Madalena. So we're going to build it up to Scream, but this is going to be the first one. And I chose The Craft for a specific reason because, one, it came right before Scream took over the culture of teen horror, right? So, and it was a very impactful movie. It was kind of a cult favorite. It made a lot of money for the type of movie that it was. It was very significant for the culture, and this was, again, before Scream kind of took over the landscape of it. And it's cool because Nev Campbell and Skeet Ulrich were the leads of Scream, and they're also in this. So I wanted to do it for that reason as well. So I also just wanted it to be kind of like metaphoric, before we build up to Scream, like Scream 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, we're going to start with The Craft. So I have been studying The Craft for the past couple of weeks. And because it's not like The Craft is one of my all-time favorites that I've watched since I was 10 years old. I mean, I've always liked it, and I've grown to love it as I've gotten older, but I don't know that movie that well. So I've been kind of nervous to do this. I was like, why did I pick a movie that I'm not an expert in? But that's part of the charm here. So, okay. So how this is going to work is you can either press play on the movie at home and listen to me talk, or you can just listen to this like it's any other old podcast episode. And I'm going to try to make it as entertaining and as insightful throughout, where you can just listen without having to actually see the visuals. So, okay, let us begin. I'm going to take a quick drink of my tea, and then we're going to kick some butt here. So let's do it. Okay, so everybody, okay, we're going to press play in 3, 2, 1, and go. Okay, so, you can look at Scream and say, oh, Scream started the teen resurgence of horror movies or of slashers, among that age group in time, right? But I actually think that The Craft has a stronger argument for being more of a teenage movie, because Scream went on to be, it started out as teenagers, right? But then it went to college and then Hollywood. So it didn't really necessarily stay in the teenage realm. So I actually think The Craft is very much more high school, and feels more like, I don't want to say younger and like little kiddish, but it definitely feels more youthful and like something that we all can identify with. So this opening shot I think is very cool. So I actually heard from the director Andrew Fleming, which you're seeing his name on the screen right now, that they actually shot this last. Like this was like one of the things that they had to reshoot at the end. Like a producer had the idea to add this in before the title card. And you could look at this scene with the three girls summoning something as them summoning Sarah to come and be their fourth to complete their group here. So the craft is also very famous for these opening credits here. It's very cool, and this is very symbolic of the 90s. Is like these the type of opening credits here with the names, and they're actually going pretty fast, But then also it kind of ties into the themes of the movie, right? Because the craft plays with nature as it tells its story. So earth, air, fire, water, whatever. And we're obviously starting in the air, far up, right? But it also ties into Sarah because she's flying to Los Angeles in her move. And there she is. There's Robin Tunney. I actually met her at the 90s Con, and I told her that I was doing this audio commentary. She thought it was very cool. So, yeah. Okay, and then there we are at LAX, probably. Yeah, I don't know. But again, one thing that films don't do so much anymore is have opening credit sequences like this. And this is something that I think the 90s really did well, is like have a great kick-ass song and kind of lead us into the story with credits. And I also like this shot of Robin in the car here with the rain coming down through the window, because again, we're tying in the element of nature and how nature is kind of intruding and capturing the story. And also with Sarah, and there's a snake. I will be honest here. I've watched The Craft. This is my fourth time for watching The Craft in the last month. I still don't really know what the snake represents. But because it also plays in here in like this one of the first scenes. Yeah, I don't get it, but it's obviously tied into religious imagery, Catholicism, whatever, blah, blah, because the movie takes place at a Catholic school. So this house is actually not a house. It's a set, which I think is very cool. It looks like a house. I mean, it looks like, like a Mediterranean, like old, 18th century kind of place. It is so pretty. It reminds me almost of like the house in Scream 3, Milton's house, and the school of H2O. But yeah. So one of the big things that you will hear people talk about with this movie is, and I hate to even bring this up, but I'm just going to get it out of the way, because I asked Robin Tunney when I met her at 90s Con just a few days ago. I said, I'm doing an audio commentary about The Craft. What should I talk about? Okay, I'm going to pause that for a second, because Sarah just put an image of her mother, like a framed photo, on her dresser. Very important. Like, one thing about the movie that I think is kind of underrated is Sarah's story. She, I mean, it's alluded to, often, but like it plays into the finale. But she attempted to commit suicide, and and there's this creepy guy with a snake. Yeah. Like, what kind of homeless guy does this? Yeah. I do like the dad coming to to help her, and actually he picks up the fire poker, poke. So anyways, I met Robin Tunney and I said, what can you tell me about The Craft that I could use in my audio commentary? It's like a cool fact. And she was kind of exacerbated. She was like, I don't know. And the first thing she said was, ooh, and then the dad just killed the snake. So killing the snake must be something important, right? Okay. But she said, of course, I shaved my head right before I went into audition and before filming for Empire Records, because she did Empire Records, I guess, in concert with The Craft. So everything that of Robin Tunney in this movie is she is wearing a wig. And I didn't know this, but in the director's commentary, Andrew Fleming talked about this nonstop. Oh, the wig looks good here. It looks bad. So here we are. She's at school the first day, and we're opening up to, the Virgin Mary, the one thing that I think the 90s did really well, and it's encapsulated in this scene, is like, I feel like I'm in Sarah's shoes. Like, I know what it feels like to be an outsider, to be like the person who doesn't fit in. And I think this is something that movies don't do well anymore. And I don't know why. Ooh, and then there's a really amazing shot of like the crucifixion. She's like kind of walking under the crucifixion, but it also looks like she's going into the crucifixion. Very cool. And there's our trio. Well, our trio to soon become a quad, but and our queen Nev Campbell, hey, and Rachel True, and Feruza, and Billy Loomis, Skeet Ulrich, oh my gosh, and Breckin Meyer. Do you know that Breckin Meyer was actually auditioning for Scream as well? I mean, everybody does that probably, but like I don't know if it was Dewey or if it was Billy, but he was like in the mix. So it's fun to see him here, and it feels like a Scream connection, even though it's not. Nev does such a good job at the physical acting here. And there's the four elements, and they're talking about the fourth, and they are the threesome. They want the fourth, and Sarah is their fourth. And here's a question that is posed throughout the movie is like, and there's the iconic Nev Campbell laugh. French class. Apparently, the craft was a huge deal in France. Because of this scene. I don't know. The director said that on the commentary. I was like, interesting. But I mean, if I was a French person, I wouldn't be like, I have to go see The Craft because it features a French lesson. Yeah. So a big question that I have with this movie is Sarah coming to them, completing and empowering them, or is Sarah more powerful than them? Like, that's one thing that I don't understand is like, are all four of the girls equally powerful and Sarah knows how to harness her power better? Or do the other three need Sarah to ignite their power or to really become fully complete? That's a question that is played throughout. I've heard people give alternate interpretations of that. I don't know where I fall on that. Like, I want to believe that Sarah, I don't know. I see it both ways. And I don't really have, so here's a really cool shot. So this is the Willow Buffy the Vampire Slayer homage, but that Buffy would homage The Craft. So you have Nev watching, you have Bonnie watching Sarah. She's like holding her pencil, and then her pencil starts kind of floating and spinning. And you have this amazing look of Nev kind of focusing in on Sarah. I love this scene because we see it from Bonnie's perspective, from Nev Campbell's perspective. And of course, a look from Nev is worth 1,000 words. And I love the music building. Oh my gosh. And you have Robin Tunney, good close up of her eyes and the pencil, and it's slowly spinning. And the thing I like about this too is it looks like the pencil's going into the desk. Like, it's not just like it's floating and spinning. It looks like she's trying, like Sarah is like making the pencil like jam into the wood of the desk, and then there it goes, it falls. So I love the lineups, like the directorial mise en scène of that sequence. Anyways, going back to Nev's acting, it's so physical what she's doing here because she has this big baggy costume on and like raggedy hair. She's almost unrecognizable. But the way she carries herself in the first half of the movie, and like it's just like the confidence that she doesn't have, it's communicated through her body language. So one homage that The Craft is, see, Bonnie's such a nice. I really like Bonnie in the first half. I think she's actually a really good person. I would have liked to explore what happens more with her arc, because she is so nice and genuine to Sarah. I think of the three girls, she's the nicest, obviously, right? But like, what happened? Like, how did she get so narcissistic in the second half, right? Because like she right there, she's like trying to speak up over Nancy. Nancy's kind of being a dictator. And there's Billy Loomis. He looks younger. He looks even younger. Like, I mean, I know obviously, duh, but like, I don't know. Do I find him cuter here or in Scream? I think he's cuter here, but like, Scream, he's sexier. And in real life, he's the charisma is real. I loved meeting Skeet Ulrich. So amazing, so nice. Okay, so this shot was actually the very first shot that they did. Is the three girls under the Virgin Mary mural at the shot. That's what Andrew Fleming said. Like, this was the very first thing that they filmed, and how poetic, right? And like, I just like each of the girls is sitting there posed in a specific way as they're watching Sarah, and Chris. Chris is his name? Yeah. I know Mesquite. So here, like, this is an interesting scene too, because Chris is he's telling Sarah what, like, his impression of each of the girls and like, or how the school sees each of the girls. But what I think is interesting is he is trying to define them, you know, in not only for Sarah, but for the audience. Like, and he's defining them through like the popular kid, through the heterosexual male guy perspective. And I think what the craft is doing is like saying, no, you will not define us. And here comes the iconic song. Oh my gosh. Okay. So, and this song was in the craft first, and then it became the Charmed theme song, and it's by the Smiths. Oh gosh. Give me a second. How soon is now? Gosh, I'm the worst with music. Thank God for my producer Ashley. She made this like beautiful like PDF for me for like of my notes. I also just think this is a very interesting thing from a gender perspective. You have Sarah here watching football practice, and like, who the fuck is Chris to be like, oh, you can come and watch me play football practice? Like, what girl wants to, or what anybody wants to go and just watch practice? Like, you know, like as though women are just supposed to sit there and like, you know, kindly just be like, oh yeah, I'm just gonna watch my boyfriend. Like, fuck that. Like that's weird. I don't know. Poor Bonnie. As you can tell, Bonnie is my fave. So ironically, like, I can identify with Bonnie and Rochelle, weirdly enough, the most of the four girls. Apparently Skeet did his own stunt there. Interesting. Yeah. They also have a scene like this in Mean Girls, and this is a common theme. Like, I was starting to say this earlier. A movie that The Craft is compared to inherently is Mean Girls. And when you think about The Craft and Mean Girls, they have the exact same structure. You know, you have the three girls who are in a clique, and then the new girl who moved into town joining the clique. And you have Fairuza, who is like, you know, the queen bee, the Regina George, the one at the top, and like the two sidekicks, right? So, but Mean Girls is a common point of comparison. But they have that literal scene where Aaron Samuels is playing soccer, and then you have Chris, aka Skeet, playing football. So Sarah just said she slit her wrists. Oh wow. There's something so raw about this, like, you know, and it's just something that I feel like is missing from media today, and like stories today. Like, you know, I get a feeling from that, you know, that's powerful. I feel like today things are more sanitized, and like art isn't as profound, like with stuff like that. So one thing I like about this, so they're at this Wiccan store, this like spooky store, right, where they there's candles and potions and books and whatever else. And there's the lady, yeah, that plays into the finale a little bit. Interesting. So one thing too I also like is like, I didn't get to mention it earlier, is Sarah is so defined as the outsider, and like you can really put yourself in the shoes of the outsider coming into a new environment, because Sarah is the only one that's not wearing a uniform. Everybody else is in the uniform for this Catholic school, right? But not Sarah. So interesting. This interesting imagery. So Buffy fans can also probably appreciate this, because in Buffy, of course, my friend Zach Cherry said this on his coverage of The Craft years ago, compared like this store to the Magic Box. And it's just interesting. I think this is a better representation of like a magic store than the Magic boxes. So my producer Ashley is just paging me. Bonnie is pressuring Sarah to steal. Peer pressure. Yes. Again, that's part of the adolescent experience here. And like, it's so interesting because, again, like, I'm not a woman. I think gay men have a lot in common with women. Like I feel like I understand women as a gay man in a different way than a straight man could, and I think women understand me as a gay man in a way that, like, there's a kindred spirit, I think, and but and yet, like, I would never understand. Like, I still don't understand what it is to be a woman coming to learning to be empowered with agency at an adolescent age that this movie is trying to target, but so it's interesting, the peer pressure of it. And they're like, the lady just gave her the book that's called The Craft, which I think is so cool. They use the same font as the movie. Very pretty. It's almost like a prophecy, Please, I've been on my knees, change the prophecy. All right. So here's like this scene. So this is the scene where the snake guy at the beginning gets hit by the car and dies. And this is probably one of my least favorite scenes of the movie. I don't know if I get it. I don't know if I get why this guy had to die or why they wanted him to die so strongly. Like, yeah, he's a creep, but like, even though Sarah's scared of him, like right now she's kind of running away from him. I don't really get like a sense of like he's trying to assault her or hurt her. He's just creepy. Did he deserve to die? But regardless, but he's also trying to warn her. So I guess Cassandra, right? Full of the Swiftie references. Oh, and see, then they're the three of them. They're all zoned in. But why do they want him to die? That's the thing I don't understand. Like, I don't get it. Ooh. Okay. Yeah. So again, like, I know one thing that I like about this movie is the setting. There's so much green in this sequence right here, like this park that they have. Like, it's a weird park. I mean, I guess I don't live in Los Angeles. I don't know how it works over there. I say that as like I'm like so removed, right? I'm still in the same country, but like, this outdoor park with a couch. Like, what is that? North, south, east, and west. So they think that they can make things happen. The four of them together. That's the question, though. Is Sarah completing it, or is Sarah empowering them? Are they individually powerful and Sarah brings it out in them, or, I don't know. So I also saw Rachel True at 90s Con. I didn't get to meet her. She was across from David Arquette's table, and I was in line for David and Dermot, and like, she wasn't at her table. I had like a 2-hour window to meet her, and she wasn't there. I was like, ugh. So Fairuza is often noted as being like the MVP of this movie, and her acting is pretty sensational. She's so intense, and apparently she like ad-libbed and like improved a lot of her lines, because she was a practicing Wiccan. I don't know if she still is, but interesting. I've also heard like that Nev and Fairuza don't get along. Like, their energies in real life kind of match the energies of their characters, and they just don't like each other. I don't know if that's a verifiable fact that came from somebody who has done, like, they won't appear at the same convention. That's what I've heard. Don't know. So I like that description that Sarah gave. Like, I was about like, my room got flooded. Even, I went it to rain, so my room got flooded. Very interesting. Again, like, it's about like, I think The Craft is also is like be careful what you wish for. You wish for rain, I'm going to give you water, and not the water you want, right? So there you go. Manal, yeah. See, and I also think that The Craft is also playing with the idea of cults in a way, and how people who are disenfranchised and who feel like outcasts and don't have a place, or don't feel like they have a place, they can get sucked into weird ideologies. And I think what we see, especially later in the movie, is like what happens when you try to get out of the cult, and how the cult, or AKA your previous friends that you used to rely on, treat you. And I think that was just the beginning seed of that. So here is the rooftop scene with Chris and Sarah hanging out. Sarah's falling in love. Chris is planning how to be a jerk. What are they drinking? Heineken? I don't know. I really like the short cut on Skeet. I think he looks very, very cute. Hate it. Too bad he's such a scumbag in the movie. You know what's interesting to me about this is like I totally get Sarah in terms of like how hard it is to be in love with a bad guy. Ooh, I love this shot because like you have like the red light on half of his face and then like the regular light on half of it. So it's like you see him being two-faced here. Love that. But with her, we don't see that. It's just all pure light on her. So he is two-faced. And like, here's the thing about him. I can't believe this. Like, I can't believe that he was so like, but this is men, right? You know, like she says, not tonight. Like, hey, I really like you. It's obvious I like you, but you're, you know, but not tonight. Let's not have sex tonight. Let's do it some other time. Let me warm up to this. And he doesn't get it right there in instant gratification. He could have gotten it probably in 2 or 3 days, maybe a week. And yet he starts this ugly rumor. Like, why be that spiteful? But we see this all the time with like people in positions of power. And within the school, Chris has power, social currency. I love the shot of Firuza with her fingers up because you can still see, even though like she's blocking the words from the classmates, we still see her full mouth. It's a cool, it shows that Andrew Fleming as a director knew what he was doing in terms of like, you know, communicating things to the audience and making the audience feel intimate with the story and character. But anyways, back to Chris and this like idea of like, you know, he gets one rejection, not even a full rejection, just a delay. And he decides to ruin Sarah's reputation. Like that is some shit. And we saw that like, you know, and this is like not to, you know, stir up any possible triggers, but like, you know, Harvey Weinstein did this with like Mira Sorvino, and other actresses, like, you know, this idea of like you know, a rejection, I'm going to ruin your entire career, reputation. Like it's awful. It's visceral. Fuck you. So apparently they made this movie with the intention of it being PG-13. They wanted one fuck, and they gave the fuck in that moment, and I think that's so deserved and earned. Okay, Rochelle at swimming. Oh my gosh. So this is a big storyline and very important to this movie. So Rochelle, it's so I really, really enjoy Rochelle's story. I think it's, for me, like I look at this and I'm like, I can't believe that this pointed commentary about racism existed in a movie in the 90s in such a deep way. So Christine Taylor was also at 90s Con. She plays Marsha Brady and she plays Mean Girl here. What's her name? Laura Lizzie. Like this is awful. Who says that? Like, I can't believe that, like, but I guess people did. Like, I mean, it's just so, and like, you know, good for Rochelle for going up and confronting her. Like, Rochelle has balls. That is like, I can't believe that was in this movie, that line was in this movie. If this movie came out today, I actually don't think that line would have been in a teen movie. I think that it would have been much more subtle, much more passive aggressive. But to be so blunt and bold, like it is visceral. Like it just kind of like shakes me. I want to talk about Rochelle more, but later on. Bonnie is my fave, and I love this sequence of like the doctor talking to her mom, and Bonnie's just like looking off, and like this is like Neve Campbell acting 101. Like even just like that 30-second moment of her in the waiting room, like I just feel the Neve magic. So Bonnie with the burn scars. Again, you get an actress like Neve for a part like this where she is, you know, we literally all we can see is her face in some of these shots because like the hospital bed and like, you know, her putting her head through the hole. I don't know about you guys, but like I'm somebody who like I'm very queasy about needles and shit. So like this, you want to talk about the substance or body horror, like this shit is effective with her poking her back and her scars, trying to like awaken the juices to take off the scars. I don't know what they're doing, but ooh. Poor Nev. Andrew Fleming, the director. Oh gosh, listen to this. So in the audio commentary in this scene, he said, Nev, she can really scream, that girl. And obviously she can, right? And I don't think that he said it with the, like, he wasn't saying it as a dad joke. He was saying it genuinely, like wholeheartedly, without tying into knowing Nev Campbell will scream, right? It's like, dude, of course she can scream. She's Nev Campbell. She is the face of the Scream franchise. She is Sidney fucking Prescott. Of course she can scream. Ooh, so this is very good character development. So we're seeing the event of Sarah. Ooh, oh my gosh. Again, I can't believe that the craft goes to these places. No wonder it had an R rating. I'm sorry, but like, I know that they, it's just interesting, like the threshold of like what was acceptable in the 90s versus what's acceptable now. Or like, I guess like the sensitivity of the 90s versus the sensitivity now. I love this shot in the rain of like Nancy walking home. Again, you want to talk about imagery and like, showing the storm inside of Nancy, because Nancy's a very angry person. The thing about the craft that's very deep and is that the way that it ties into each of the girls struggling with a real deep real life issue, and Nancy's is domestic abuse and domestic turmoil, and like I know so many people who lived with families like this where the parents were drunks, the dad, the stepdad was scuzzy, less than favorable economic status. It's so interesting. Like, the rain is like dripping on her face. Like, so there's obviously a leak in their trailer. Wow. But, Nancy was abused. I think that's, whether it's, just verbal abuse and like the mental abuse, it's never spelled out that her stepdad abused her sexually, but you can probably infer that. And it's just, I don't want to, I was thinking about whether I want to say this or not, but like, it makes me think, I love this. I love this scene, this sequence, this shot. Nancy is sitting in the seat in front of Rochelle, Sarah, and Bonnie, and they're separated. That's obviously foreshadowing that Nancy is the one who's going to go rogue and she's going to go evil, right? Whereas the other three are united on the same page. We are the weirdos, mister. Again, another beautiful shot composition with like the sun and the girls. And that's like the moment of the movie, right? Is them saying that. The vibe that it exudes, right? I think a lot of people, especially like the outsiders and I can't underline that enough. I viscerally understand that. And I get that, like feeling like you don't belong in school. Like as like a gay kid growing up in rural PA, like I get these girls so much. And I think this movie does a really good job of showing and depicting how outsiders feel. And with that scene, it gives them power, right? That we are the weirdos, mister. So here, this sequence is interesting because it's one continuous shot as it goes from girl to girl. It's interesting that they kiss each other, but I don't feel like it's exploitative in the way that they're kissing. Like this isn't Cruel Intentions, Catherine and Cecile kissing. I don't know. Is it sisterhood? Is it? And I don't know. So it's interesting. I don't know. But anyways, the filmmaking is cool because, Andrew Fleming, one continuous shot nonstop, Birdman did it. Gravity did it. 1917 did it, I guess. But very cool filmmaking. Again, not something you would typically expect from a quote teen movie. But, I was thinking about Nancy and like the abuse that she received. And like, it's like, it begs the question, like when someone is abused like that in their childhood, and it's so relenting, and you can tell just how bothered Nancy is all the time, especially at home, how distressed she is, does that lead her to become abusive? Like, is she practicing those traits that she experienced? Like, does the victim become the victimizer? I don't know. Thank you, everybody, for listening to this public preview of the commentary for this month. If you would like to listen to the complete audio commentary for the movie, please head on over to Patreon, Scream with RCS, subscribe at any tier to get the audio for this movie, for the audio commentary. Or if you subscribe at a higher tier, tier 2 or above, you can get the video for me performing the commentary while watching the movie. So again, everybody, thank you so much for supporting the podcast.
Scream with Ryan C. Showers is made possible by supporters like you. All copyrighted material used or referenced in this show belong to their rightful owners and made possible by the Fair Use Act.
And number 3, never, ever, ever, under any circumstances say, I'll be right back. Because you won't be back.
Get another beer, you want one?
Yeah, sure.
I'll be right back!